Financial freedom, it's the ability to live your life the way you want it without a regular paycheck. In other words, getting your investments to work for you. I'm Alex Matthew and this is BQ Portfolio. Joining me today is Bhaskar Bhatt, and what he wants to do is to achieve financial independence. The question is, when can he achieve it? And to answer that question, here's Karthik Javeri, who is the director at Transcend Consulting. Now, I want to launch straight into this conversation. The idea is fairly simple, and we've got the numbers. So I'm going to let you describe what you want to achieve, by when you want to achieve it ideally, and then we'll find out if it's possible.
Sure. First and foremost, thank you for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure. Karthik, thank you so much for taking the time out for looking at my financials. I am a minimalist. I own nothing. I don't desire to own anything. So what I have is for my family. So I have three very clear goals in front of me. I have a 9-year-old daughter, and I believe that 8 years from now, she will hit undergraduate education. And I do intend to put away 50 lakh rupees to fund her education.
Sure.
6 years hence, she will be of the marriageable age, and as Indian traditions go, I do wish to leave something for her. Of course. And I'm hoping to put away another 50 for her. That makes it once a year put together. But the most interesting thing that I want to know is, given the corpus I have and the amount of investable surplus every month, at what point in time in my life can my investments pay my existing costs?
Now, I say this is
including inflation.
Yeah, of course. I say this is a very interesting question because it so happens that Bhaskar is a professor. So the question that he's posed to you is a typical professor question. So we have an answer, I'm sure.
So not only for you, Bhaskar, but even I want to make a general point first, because you started off with financial freedom and financial independence, and that is something I hold very close to my heart. Anyone who's independent, not salaried, so to say, you need to evaluate this number all the time. Which is to say that today, if I have to be financially independent, because if my skills get redundant, if my business dynamics change, or if my profession changes so dramatically that I need to look for something completely new, as a self-employed professional, what is that number that I should be chasing like right now?
Correct.
So that's always a nice number to sort of know at the back of your mind, so then you know how much to invest. But we leave that for a moment there, and first I'll come to your question. So let's look at the fact that the numbers that you've given me, that you have a 1 lakh expenditure every month. So I'm going to throw some numbers back at you very slowly, and if you get lost somewhere, please let me know.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So broadly speaking, to have a 1 lakh income generation, what we need to do is, imagine we need to create a pot of money. A pot of money which will keep paying out the equivalent of 1 lakh.
Correct.
And that's what you want, inflation adjusted. So what happens is your lifestyle is not compromised, and without earning, that corpus of yours, or that little pot of gold of yours, will keep paying out like a tap. It'll keep giving out the money every month, month after month, for as long as you're alive. So that's really our objective.
Yes.
So the estimate that I worked was about 12 years. Okay.
Fantastic. That's doable.
Absolutely, right? So now that's interesting. In 12 years' time, the 1 lakh that you're spending right now is going to be equal to about 2.25 lakhs, 2,25,000, which is after tax.
Right.
So before tax, you're looking at about 3.25. I'm just assuming, and it's better to be a little conservative when it comes to taxation and that point of view.
Of course.
So you say about 3.25.
Right.
That's per month. And therefore, every year that has also got to go up by maybe 7% inflation.
Of course.
So the corpus that you're looking at, assuming that you'll live to about 80, 85 years of age, and that's what we normally estimate.
I have no intention of doing so, but
so let me tell you.
I'll take your word for it.
Let's knock on wood and hope that happens.
No, not only that, the other way around. If you go away early, it's a bonus for people behind you.
Of course.
But the risk is in living longer.
I agree.
The risk is in living longer. So therefore, the corpus that we're looking is at 7.7 crores. Okay. To be accumulated in a 12-year period.
Okay.
Now, that's part A of the story.
Right.
Part B is now what is the amount of investable surpluses and the monthly investment potential that you think you can do at the moment.
Right.
So those numbers are 33 lakhs that you have right now as a lump sum investment.
Yes.
And the fact that you can do 1.5 lakh every month.
That's correct.
So now if you continue this 33 lakhs and the 1.5 lakh for the next 12 years, then you reach somewhere in the range of about 7.7 to 8 crores. Okay. So So therefore, it sort of matches, So these two things therefore come together. Part A, Part B, it merges at 12 years.
Fantastic.
But you also have to account for the first two goals that you laid out, which is the 50 lakhs that you need in the next 6 years?
Yes.
8 years.
8 years, and then 6 years hence, another 50 lakhs.
Right.
So that's one CR that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not only 1 CR. Inflation adjusted, it would easily be about 2 or 2.25 crores.
Right.
Now, what happens for that is, remember that when we are funding education, when we are funding wedding, these are life events for which even you can take a little bit of funding, you can take a little bit of borrowing, so to say.
Of course.
You can even dip into your retirement kitty.
Right.
But there is nobody who gives you loan when you retire.
That's correct.
When you want to become financially independent, nobody gives you a loan for that.
Correct.
So in my scheme of things, my suggestion is always keep that at number one priority.
Right.
What will happen is you need to know that figure because you're self-employed.
Of course.
Right. And then on the secondary level, now that we've got to create a corpus of close to about 225 crores over the next 14 years.
Yeah.
But I have a point here. Are those numbers arbitrary, or have you thought about the fact that you will need it at that point of time, considering inflation?
I do, because since I'm in the field of education,
Ah.
right, a typical degree is about 5 lakh rupees a year.
Yeah.
And 8 years hence,
So
even
he's
assuming a
accounted for
7%
inflation, which is about 50 lakhs.
Yeah. So that'll cost about 10 lakh rupees a year multiplied by a 4-year program. So that's about 40.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the PG because if I believe that I have taught my daughter well, she will get a scholarship in due course of time.
Wow, okay.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it's 50 lakhs and 50 lakhs for the wedding and the marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it could just be a financial gift to the couple.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So therefore, when we look at the second and the third goals that you have, there are two options that I look at. The two options are as follows. One option is that we need to invest yet another 50,000 a month.
Okay.
Okay. Or what happens is instead of 12 years, the financial independence threshold gets pushed by another 4 years or so. So it becomes about 16 years.
Okay.
So if you're 42 now,
Yeah.
and then another 14 years instead of 12 years or 16 years,
Right.
you're somewhere in the range of 57, 58, which is typically where most other people do it. But having said that, if this strategy is followed
Yeah.
to the absolute T, and see, I'm making a textbook assumption.
Of
Like you're a
course.
professor, so when we speak something, we make a textbook assumption.
That's correct.
Reality is quite different.
That's true.
So reality is that we've even got 17 and 18% kind of returns over the last 20, 25 years. If I look at the history of the stock market all the way from 1980s and 90s.
Right.
And we are calculating at 14, 15%. So we are also being conservative there. So it's technically possible.
And on the other side also, we're being conservative on the inflation side, because I think we're assuming 7.5.
I'm assuming 7%. I'm assuming 30% taxation also,
Right.
which may not be the case. It might be 22 or 23% taxation, effective tax.
So,
Fair enough.
but 14 years doable?
Oh, absolutely
Okay.
doable.
So
Absolutely.
what I want to do from here on is, I'm sure that you want to know how to invest your money.
That's correct.
So that leads us to the next part of the conversation.
Absolutely, and that's that's the third part. Obviously, that once you've got your strategy, then you need to invest that money. So when you invest that money, now 15% is obviously available only from two categories. They're mostly similar, so it's either direct equity, which is to buy shares,
course.
or to buy equity mutual funds.
Right.
If you do not want to buy the share portfolio directly.
Right.
Over a period of time, it's not a bad idea to have a little bit of exposure into direct stocks as well,
Of course.
especially from a retirement perspective, because that's very, very long periods. Maybe even if you keep a third of your portfolio into that and use that corpus maybe at the end of 15 or 20 or after those many years, it's okay. It's not a problem. Even if it fluctuates a little more than your equity mutual funds, you're okay,
Right.
because the potential for growth is that much higher there.
Well, just to add a point, I'm not risk averse at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm actually quite interested in getting equity.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the best way forward. Of course, it has to be balanced. So
Yeah.
I think it has to be some sort of a balanced allocation between mutual funds and equity. But I'm happy to look at equity. I mean, I'll be interested.
Bhaskar, what happens is, I'm glad you mentioned this point, because a lot of times when people start making an equity-oriented portfolio,
Yeah.
then some part is put towards equity, some part is put towards balance, some part goes into debt. Now that is a conflict of sorts.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
Correct.
Because the moment you reduce
Yeah.
the potential, return generating potential,
Right.
by going to balanced and MIPs and liquids, automatically we are coming down, we are stepping down from our 15% assumption.
Right.
While that may look very nice, but it won't help us achieve our goals.
Right.
And it's always good to be able to achieve our goals faster.
So how do we go about that?
So which is why I would say 100% equity portfolio.
Fantastic.
This is number one. Number two, I would think at this time, not more than about 30% into large caps and blue chips.
Okay.
I would want to put almost 40 to 50%, a big chunk of the money into mid caps and small caps.
Okay.
Although more volatile, but they are having the potential to generate wealth that much faster.
Correct.
And I always like to go to an evergreen sector, like a pharmaceutical, like an FMCG.
Right.
So I want to make it a very powerful and a reasonably aggressive portfolio. I'm not even like, trying to say, let's put more blue chips and more large caps. Just keep to 30% just to provide stability.
So, but 100% equity is okay for you at this point, Bhaskar? Would you not want to diversify a little bit, be a little safer?
I would need to evaluate that thought, to be very honest with you, but I think it's doable.
I don't think there's any risk, by the way. I think it's just volatility.
Of course.
What happens is, over a period of time, you see, Alex, the more faster you start achieving your goals, the faster you start building up your wealth, then you can start taking it notches down. But it's very, very risky, and I'm now using the word risky, to not invest in equities. And
Of
then
course.
to think about the fact that, I have lesser money, there is a situation where I may have to compromise, so on and so forth. Rather do it now, when the sun is shining bright.
Absolutely.
And then, maybe when you're 53, 54, 55, 57, we keep coming down notches because we've made enough.
Of course.
Then it's the time to rest back on your laurels.
And then shift. So then how does he go about shifting at that point? You shift
So
a
at that
portion
point
every
of time, Alex, what happens is we start moving 10% money first out into bond funds, which will obviously get you 6-7%. So it's stabilizing, but also is based on how much money we need at that point of time and the profit level. So we've reached a profit level, we've reached a corpus level, which was our targeted level. Once that happens, then we start slowly and steadily keep coming down notches. There are lots of instances where people reach 60, 63, 65, and I've seen that over the last 20 years, where there is a time where you need to become completely debt oriented. You don't need to do, because whatever had to be achieved 10 years, 15 years, in that period,
already done.
We've done it. We've achieved it, and we have overachieved it.
Right. And it also makes sense, because the advice really makes sense to me, because, at the age of 42, and given the fact that I'm in the domain of education.
Yes.
And education is a flat hierarchy, right? You don't see rapid growth, you don't see rapid falls, unless, of course, one makes serious mistakes in life. But otherwise, it's a steady growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these are the golden years of my life, right?
Okay.
42 to 50, 52, before the energy runs out. This is all that I've got.
Okay.
Right. Then the wisdom increases, the physical energy decreases, but
we're assuming a very long and healthy life for you, and that's the plan that Karthik has.
Absolutely.
For you.
Right.
But so, any other queries that you have with regard to this plan that has been laid out?
If you were to devise an equity-based strategy, would you suggest that I put, if I understand you correctly, you're asking me to put 1.5 lakhs in acquiring stocks every single month? Is that through a systematic equity?
Not at the
plan?
moment. So when you're making a monthly investment, let's make it into mutual funds.
Okay.
Over a period of time, today we have 33 lakhs, so even that can go into mutual funds, this can also go into mutual funds.
Right.
Once we reach a level of about 1 crore or so, we can remove 25, 30 lakhs and start creating an equity portfolio out of that. Okay, so at that point of time. Because when we are investing on a monthly basis, it's much simpler administratively to keep our allocation intact and to keep buying slices of the market every month.
Got it.
Once we reach a sizable amount, there will be an opportunity once in 3-4 years where we take some profit off the table, and then we do something alternative. We sometimes keep it in bonds, maybe for 6 months, 8 months time, and then we can also consider stocks at that point of time. So I would not want to run into stocks right away, but at a little later stage when we've created a little bit of a backup. So we feel very strong about that backup behind us, and then we know that we are now able to go up and up our game to the next level.
Fantastic.
Right, so
statistically,
Sorry.
So statistically, I'm interested to know when that point arrives.
So I normally say,
1 crore, and then we extract some amount.
It could be 1 crore, it could be 1.5 crore, it could be even 2 crores. It's a level where you will feel financially secure. What happens is a lot of times I keep telling people in a lot of sessions that I address that if you're 40 and if you don't have 80 or 100 behind you, there's a serious concern, and by the time you realize it's already too late. So therefore, that's a comfort feel in today's day and age. If you have about 80 lakhs, 100 lakhs, minus your real estate property, minus your factory, office, whatever you have, just a pure investment backup. The moment you reach that level, psychologically, you feel much, much better. You feel in a much more secured sort of a zone. So that's all I'm saying. Let's enter that zone. That zone could be 80, it could be 180. Differs from person to person, but broadly, that's the zone in today's times.
So would it sound funny to you or ironic to you if I say that I'm already financially happy? Would that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because somebody asked me an interesting question the other day. They said, how much are you worth? I said, alive, I'm worth about 50 lakhs. Dead, I'm worth 1.5 crores. so it's just a frame of mind, right?
You can be very happy with the current scenario. It's just nice to know what numbers are going to happen in years to come.
Yeah,
and we get ready and prepared for that.
All right, Bhaskar, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the studio. Thank you so much. And Karthik, as always,
my pleasure.
It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for helping Bhaskar out. For all of you who've been watching this particular episode of BQ Portfolio, I hope it's been helpful to you or someone that you know. If you'd like to participate, you can write into us on portfolio@bloombergquint.com and we'll help you out as well. Thanks so much for watching. This is Bloomberg Quint. The conversation and advice dispensed by the financial advisors on Bloomberg Quint's television show Portfolio aims at giving the guests on the show a broad approach toward their finances. The advice is not a full financial plan. Viewers are advised to work with a financial planner for specific products, choice and execution when making an independent decision regarding investments or acting on any advice. Any calculated projections or any predictions given on Bloomberg Quint's platform during the show are not guaranteed and are merely an expression of opinion and are not intended for other than illustration purposes only. No view mentioned on the program is personal advice to anyone. Bloomberg Quint is not responsible for any risk or loss that might occur as a result of placing this information into action in any way and regardless of your interpretation of the advice.